Welcome and thank you for joining today's webinar, How to Quickly and Easily Navigate Digital Codes and Standards, presented by Kyle Spencer from NFPA. Before we begin, I have a few housekeeping items to go over with you. Please connect your audio by using the microphone icon you see on the slide. Click the drop-down arrow and select your speakers. We will hold all questions until after the presentation. Please enter any questions you may have in the Q&A pod when you hover over the toolbar at the bottom of your screen. Now I'd like to introduce your speaker for today, Kyle Spencer. For over 3 years, Kyle Spencer has been working alongside his peers at NFPA to develop NFPA LiNK, providing digital access to codes and standards. Now serving as the director of NFPA LiNK, he oversees the strategic direction for the application and helps support ongoing development and content creation efforts. Kyle has spent over a decade working in the electrical products industry, learning from engineers and installers on how to make the product they use more efficient. Currently residing in Boston, Mass., he anxiously waiting for warmer weather and start of baseball season, now that it's happening. This webinar is being recorded on behalf of the NFPA National Fire Protection Association. This recording will become the property of NFPA and may be used by NFPA for any lawful purpose. By participating in or attending this event, you agree to be recorded and allow NFPA to use such recording for any lawful purpose. If you do not wish to be recorded, please hang up or exit the meeting at this time. I would now like to stop sharing my screen and allow Kyle to prepare his presentation. Thank you, and we hope you enjoy the training.
Hey everyone, I just want to thank you all for taking the time out of your day to join me and hear a little bit about NFPA LiNK and get a demonstration of the application. This is the first webinar that I've done regarding NFPA LiNK, so I'm going to give you a high-level overview of the application and dive into some of the features and show you some tips and tricks along the way. But we are planning on doing multiple webinars. So pretty much every quarter, we're trying to target to do a webinar around NFPA LiNK, highlight any new features that we might have released, any new content, and help answer any questions that you guys have. So speaking of questions, there is that Q&A section. Please feel free to drop your questions in there as I'm giving the presentation. I do have Angela Burke, our senior project manager. She will be fielding a lot of those questions as I go, but we will also save some time at the end for me to dive into any specifics for you guys if it warrants any more of a demo or any more detail around it. But she'll try to answer anything along the way as you guys ask. So before I jump into the actual demonstration, what I would like to do is talk a little bit about NFPA LiNK and what it is and the value that it brings. So give me a second here. All right, so NFPA LiNK is essentially a web application. We use what's called a progressive web application. So what you're going to do is you're going to use your browser to access that data. You're going to go to link.nfpa.org, and that can be in your Chrome, your Safari, your Edge, Firefox, any of those browsers you can use to access NFPA LiNK. We developed it as a progressive web application for several reasons, but I feel the one that benefits you all the most is the fact that you can access it through a browser. So if you work for certain companies or if you're buying this for your employees and your team, you don't have to rely on IT giving you the ability to install the software. As long as you have access to the browser, you have the ability to access NFPA LiNK. I did put some screenshots in here of how to install it as an app from the browser in case you want kind of a shortcut into NFPA LiNK. So kind of two ways to do that. If you're in Chrome or any of the browsers on your desktop or laptop, where you go to favorite a web page, you'll also see this drop-down arrow. That will give you the opportunity to install it as an app, so it'll show up as an icon on your desktop. Similarly, LiNK works across all devices, so it's going to work on your tablet. It's going to format to fit your phone size, and you can add it as an app on your phone as well. The way you do that is you would navigate to link.nfpa.org, and then you would click that share button at the bottom, and then add to home screen, and that will create it as an app on your home screen. So just some best practices on how to access the application, but certainly if you did not want to install it as an app, you can always access it through the web browser. All of our features work through the web browser. You don't have to install the app to do any of the features that I'm going to show you today. There are 3 different subscription options for NFPA Link. We have an individual and a team, and then we have 2 different types of teams. We have up to 5 users and up to 10 users. Those 2 different options are all self-service, so you can purchase those through our website and sign up and get your team rolling. The enterprise version is anybody that's greater than 10 users. We actually get you an account manager, get you some pricing, and help you with setup and training as well. The reason I mentioned those different tiers is because I am going to be demonstrating a team subscription today. There are a few additional features when it comes to the team and enterprise, and that's really allowing you to collaborate with other users, with your coworkers, and sharing best practices. I did list out some of the features here, but I'm actually going to demonstrate those live for you. So I won't go through all the details here. But the exciting thing about Link and the application itself is that what we're really doing is learning from you guys as our users to better improve the overall experience and release new features that we see fit. So you're always going to see new updates coming with Link. You're going to hear about new announcements. It's the reason I'm doing this webinar and able to do one every quarter is because we're going to always have something new and exciting to talk to you guys about. The second piece I wanted to talk about before jumping into the actual demonstration is content. So what you're doing with NFPA Link as a subscription is you're actually subscribing to our application, and we're providing all the content as part of that subscription. So really it is, we're giving you everything NFPA's got to offer and continuing to build upon that. I've heard from some people, well, I only use one code. That's all I want. Great, then subscribe to NFPA Link and you'll get access to that code. We certainly priced it aggressively enough for it to make sense for that. But what we don't want to do is limit the other available content to you and make sure that we give you as much stuff to make you as knowledgeable and safe as possible. So I really bucketed content into kind of 3 different areas. The first one is our publications. So that's our codes and standards. Today, we have almost about 400 publications available within NFPA Link. That includes at least the most current edition of every single NFPA code and standard. And what you will see is we're actually growing our library of those prior editions. We know certain editions are enforced in certain areas. We want to make sure that you have access to those editions as well. So what you will see is that we actually do have a lot of our prior editions in here, and we're continuing to grow that library. Also, as part of your subscription, you're going to have first access to anything newly released. So anything cyclically released, as it comes out, it will go into NFPA Link first and foremost, and you guys will all have access to it immediately. The second bucket is really this enhanced inline content. So this is content that we trickle in with the code itself. And I'll show you what this exactly looks like, but wanted to address it here because this is really kind of our expert commentary and visual aids. A lot of you ask about, hey, is handbook content in NFPA Link? Yes, it is, but it doesn't stand alone as its own book anymore. We do trickle that content within the code itself, and it gives us the ability to continuously add to and update that content. So instead of it being released cyclically with the code itself, we can always add and improve our enhanced content and the understanding behind the codes. The third bucket is really the enhanced direct content, and I'll show you what direct is. It's a feature within NFPA Link, but this is what we call our situational navigation. So it's really topical content. It's based on occupancy, system, space, or equipment. And what you're going to get is some really nice visual aids, some commentary, and aggregated code information relating to those topics. And I'll show you what that's all about. Again, all of this content is continuously added by NFPA. We're always updating and improving this content. So what you see in there today certainly could be different tomorrow or the next week or the next month. So from there, I'm going to jump into Link itself. All right, so what I'm showing you here is the dashboard of NFPA Link. When you do sign up for NFPA Link, you'll actually go through what's called an onboarding process. This will allow you to select some topics of interest, as well as start to favorite some of your most used publications. From there, you get dropped into what we call our dashboard or our home screen. You can see I've got some favorited publications listed here. I've also got this sidebar here, and this is our navigation menu. So the top here with the icon right here is the home screen. This gets you back to the page that you're viewing right here. The next one is NFPA Direct, which I'll show you in a little bit. The one below that is My Link. This is what houses all your bookmarks and collections. The one below that is Search. And then down at the bottom here is where my initials are, is where some account settings pieces are that I'll dive into in a little bit as well. So what you see is all of my favorited publications. You also see some recent activity that I've done. There's this nice getting started section. So if you are new to Link, you can certainly check this out. And then there's this resource center. So there's this question mark down at the bottom right. If I click that, it's got a lot of helpful things, especially if you're brand new to NFPA Link. So we have what's called application guides. These are really step-by-step walkthroughs of the application itself. So it'll help you really understand how to use the features and help you kind of go step-by-step to understand and learn them. We also have onboarding demos. So if you're one of those people that like to watch videos to really understand how to use something, we've got a series of videos that you can watch here. All of them are less than a minute or so, giving you kind of high-level understanding of how to use the application as well. And then we have this announcement section. Announcements is going to give you a notification on this question mark, very similar to like the notifications you get on your phone. It'll let you know that we have something new to tell you about. So you'll see all kinds of announcements in here. Any new releases we have, for example, we also have some Spanish publications available in Link. So we're continuing to release those. Any new feature releases we would also have announced in this section as well. Okay, so if you do need to reach a book that you haven't favorited yet, what you can do is down here in the View All Publications button, you can click that. And what that's going to do is bring up this modal. And here you can type any publication number. I'm going to do 101 and click Search. And what you're going to see is all of the publications that have 101 in the title that we currently have available in NFPA Link. So you can see, as I mentioned, we do have some prior editions. Let's say that I was very interested in the healthcare space, that's the space I was working in. I might want the CMS document of the 2012 version. I can click this vertical menu here and click Add to Favorites. That will put it on my home screen. Or if I just wanted to jump directly into the book, I could just click this right here and navigate straight into the book. So that's the way you would add new content. Now you can see that 2012 is now on my home screen so that I can quickly access it. But like I said, if it's something you don't use all the time, you can certainly just jump into it from that View All Publications. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually jump into a document. I'm going to do NFPA 70 to start. And NFPA 70, what it's going to show you is the table of contents first. So this gives you the ability to quickly navigate to a section. You're also going to have the ability, if I can get this out of my way, to change the edition. So I click Change Edition, and then you can see that I can quickly jump to a prior edition if it's something that I need to reference and go back to. I'm going to cancel that, and I'm actually going to jump into Chapter 2 and into Article 210. And then this might take a little bit longer to load just because I am sharing with so many people, but I do promise you it works very fast on your own. But just a heads up in case it is a little bit slow. So what you can see here is I've got a table of contents that persist on the left here. So I can quickly navigate throughout this article. So if I want to jump to different spots, I can do that here on the left, or I can navigate the code as normal as I'm scrolling here. You can see the structure of the code itself is the exact same. So we didn't change anything to do with the code at all. It follows the same format, the same sectioning, numbering format, all of that. But what you are going to see is a few things. So first, you can obviously see these blue enhanced content bars. If I click expand on that, this is what I'm referring to as that inline enhanced content. So this is very much similar to the handbook content that you're used to today. But I don't have to go back out and find the 70 handbook. It's built within NFPA 70 itself. So you can see some explanatory material. This is written by our experts, as well as an image for helpful understanding of the meaning behind this particular section. Now, if you're somebody that wants to see that content all the time, or you don't want to see those blue bars at all, up here in the top right, there's this little toggle bar. You can open that up, and then you can either uncheck show enhanced content, which would remove those blue bars and give you a nice clean view of the code itself, or you can expand all of it by default if you want to see them all the time and don't want to have to keep clicking expand on every single one of these. So as I'm navigating the code, the other thing that's a really helpful feature is our reference links. Most of our codes and standards have some sort of reference to either another section in the code itself or to another code altogether. A lot of these within NFPA LiNK are actually clickable links. So for example, this 210.4b has an informational note about 240.15b. Well, if I was in a print publication or a PDF, I would have to go find that particular section. Here, I'm able to click that and quickly read that requirement without losing my place in the view right here. I do have the option to open in book view, so I can jump straight to that. Or I have this option to add to reference panel. And I'm going to demonstrate that first. So what adding reference panel does is it actually pins it to a panel to allow for side-by-side viewing. So now I can still read this requirement, and I've got this 240 informational note that was referenced right here on the right side. So I can quickly read that and have it in this panel. If it's something I wanted all the time, I could keep it in the panel and access. If it's something I didn't want and I just wanted to read real quick, I can click this trash can, delete it out of my reference panel, and I no longer need it. What you're going to see is that I've actually got a few other things pinned to this reference panel. So say I was working across multiple publications and I had either some equations or maybe a table or something I wanted in the panel, I can pull that up and still navigate NFPA 70 while reading this NFPA 20 requirement on branch circuits. So really it's for you to customize and optimize to your best experience. However you want to pin material into the panel, you can certainly do. To access that panel outside of just adding to the reference panel, it is right up here next to that toggle bar with the enhanced content. So you can click that and open that panel and access any of the things you might have pinned to that reference panel. Also, what you're going to notice as I'm navigating the code is that as I scroll over these sections, you see this blue dotted line appearing over this, and that indicates the piece of material you're interacting with. So for example, if I did just over this 210.4, that's actually going to give me this entire section of material to interact with. But say I just wanted to interact with 210.4b, I could come down here. I can see that this is just surrounding the B portion. And there's this little horizontal menu here. A few different interactions you can do from here. So you can add this to your reference panel. You can add a bookmark and you can share. Since I already demonstrated the reference panel via using a reference link, I'm not going to do that here, but I'll go ahead and add a bookmark. So a bookmark is really your way of adding your own personal notes and assigning colors to sections of code. So what you can see here is now I've got the opportunity. There's a drop down here. I can assign different colors. I know, certain people either highlight their books in certain ways or maybe tab out their books in different colors. This is kind of that same experience. So it's giving you the opportunity to color code all of your notes if you're one of those people that like to do that. You can also add your own personal note here. And then you've got the ability to format it in a few ways. So you got the standard bold, italicized, underline, strike through, as well as a bulleted and a numbered list if you need it. The other option you have is to add it to an existing collection. So I can come down here and I will show you collections here in just a minute of how all of this works. But as I'm making bookmarks, I can go ahead and add them to a collection. I'll add this one to my new hire collection and hit save. So now what it's doing is it's creating that bookmark so that I can access it in the future. You can see it's successfully saved, and now that green bookmark appears next to this section. It also appears over here in the table of contents so that visually I can quickly see where I have bookmarks in this actual section of code. I can click on that bookmark and I can view my specific note. I can also view the collection that it belongs into. And you'll also see that it was added just now in the 2020 edition. The reason we call out the edition it was added in is a nice feature of NFPA LiNK is that it actually persists your bookmarks both forwards and backwards based on what edition you're working in. So this means I could put all my effort into the 2020 NEC, put all my bookmarks, do all my notes. When the 2023 comes out with NFPA Link, we're actually going to move your bookmarks forward, but also keep them in the 2020. What it's going to tell you, though, is that you added it in the 2020 edition. So if you did need to come back, something changed drastically in 2023, you could come in here, edit the bookmark, and make a few notes saying, hey, in 2020 it's this, but in 2023 you really need to change whatever you may be doing based on the code change. So that is a really great feature. I know every time somebody gets a new code book, they usually have to just go and redo all their work from a notes and everything standpoint. Not a ton of the code book changes every single time. So a lot of your bookmarks would remain the same, and we carry those forwards and backwards for you. The other feature you have here is sharing. So what sharing is going to allow me to do is actually email a unique link of this code out to anyone. So you can see I've got the code selected here. I'm just sharing this 210.4b. I can enter anyone's email address here. Your team members would default here if you did want to email them right away. Anyone that you have added to your team, you could do as well. But I can send out an email. It can be also a subscriber or non-subscriber of NFPA Link, so they don't actually have to subscribe to NFPA Link to access the content. What you will see, though, is if you are not a subscriber of NFPA Link, you will only be able to see that specific section of code that you shared. You won't be brought into the entire experience that a subscriber would get. I have the ability to change the subject. So say it was about a project, and I wanted to change the subject of the email to that. And I wanted to type a message and say, hey, we were talking about this. I wanted to share. And then what I could do is send off the email. This would show up in the email as the body of text. This would be the subject, and then it would have a unique link to go read this specific content. I'm going to back up, actually, and dive into... The other thing I wanted to show you guys is actually something relatively new that we've released, and we're calling it link resources. So what we've started to do is take all of our tables and aggregate that information for you. So now if you wanted to just view the tables from chapter 2 of the NEC, you can see down here, I've got this link resources. I can click tables from chapter 2, and I'm going to have the ability to see all the tables that belong in chapter 2. I can scroll down here. You can also see that you can bookmark just a table. So that is also a new feature for us. We originally had where you could only bookmark the sections that tables belonged in. Now you can bookmark just the table if that's all you want to access. But also you can view the table in a better experience as well. So I'll use this table 220 as an example. Again, you see this horizontal dotted line. This is the menu. So I've got the ability to add a bookmark, or I can click this expand table. And what that's going to do is give me the ability to view that table in a larger view to make it easier to read. So you can see as I'm scrolling this table, though, I'm actually losing that header. So another new feature that we've released is the ability to pin this header. So now I can lock this header at the top, and I can scroll down. That way I can easily read, the penitentiary requirements and still be able to see the header along with that content. So I'm going to jump back out and show you a different publication. I'm just going to dive into NFPA 13 instead. And very similarly, what you're going to see is the table of contents that I can quickly access varying chapters of content. I can also change the edition from here. So I'll click that real quick. And you can see I've got the ability to navigate to other editions of NFPA 13. And like I said, we're continuing to add content in here. So soon enough, you'll see the 2013 edition of this available as well. I can jump into chapter 6 here. And what you're going to see as this populates up is, again, the structure of the code, just as you would expect, but there is additional enhanced content, very similar to that handbook content experience that you might be used to, where we give some explanatory material. We've got a nice image explaining what this chapter is all about. One thing I didn't mention as we were looking at the NEC is we do also include change indicators. very similar to our print publications. All these indicators indicate what has changed from the prior editions. So that's something you can notice here as well. And now I'm just going to demonstrate search. So with search, if I'm actually within a chapter of a publication, what it's going to do is default to searching just that chapter. So you can see I was in chapter 6 of NFPA 13. That's what it's defaulting as. I can search cast iron, and then you'll see where that word appears within this chapter. From there, I've got some options. So I can just jump right into this. I can click one of these and navigate directly to that piece. Or I can expand to all of NFPA 13. So now I can search the entire publication for that specific keyword or phrase that I searched. I can also start to select publications. So if I click select publications and I don't actually select anything down here out of my favorites, or click this view all and select things, what it's actually going to do is search across the most current edition of every single code and standard we have. So you can see there's 151 pages across all 350 plus documents we have where the word cast iron is used. So that might not be that helpful for you. Maybe though you want to search a couple documents. So maybe I want to search 13 and 20 to see where that word appears. You now have the ability to search multiple documents at once and see where those keywords appear as well. You can also refine your search. So if there was, say you wanted to just know a chapter, and I don't believe there is any chapters that have the word cast iron, so this probably should appear blank. Yep. But you can filter these down and say, I only want to see sections that have this word, annexes or chapters, or with the NEC articles that have this keyword or phrase in it. So that's how our search works. So from there, I'm going to jump over to MyLink. MyLink is the portion of NFPA LiNK that really houses all of your bookmarks. So while you can access your bookmarks in the book itself when you're viewing that publication, they'll also exist here for quick reference. So you can see I've got this My Bookmarks tab. I've got all these bookmarks made. I can come here, I can filter. So again, if you organize your thoughts by color, you can say, I just want to see all the green bookmarks, and that would pull up everything green related. When you see the bookmark itself in MyLink, what you're going to see is your personal notes right there, so you can read them real quick. If I clicked this, I'll be able to read that section without actually jumping into the book. So if all I cared about was just that section, I wanted to read it, I can come to MyLink, find that easier, not have to get into the book and find it. I can also jump straight into the book view, so I can click open the book view. That will open that section up right where I left off. But I'm not going to do that. But you can also see how the tables look bookmarked as well. So there's a little hint at the table. Again, you could click that, open the table, and view it. The collections piece. So this is the piece that I think is really, really valuable, especially for teams that are looking to share information. So we'd offer 2 different types of collections, and you'll notice by the icon differences what those are. So if it's just a folder, that's my own personal collection. That means anybody on my team actually can't see that content. Unless I add a bookmark to a team collection, nobody on my team is seeing that information. It's only until you add it to a team collection that you're actually sharing it with your team. But the nice thing about this is that you can actually start to create folders of sections of content based on relative subjects, trainings, maybe even a project that you're working on. You can organize this all to how you want. And it really is great for accessing information and really aggregating your information relative to subjects. So for example, this fire doors one, I can come into here, I can see I've named the collection fire doors. It's a team collection, so anybody on my team can see it. They can see all my notes. And also I can aggregate different content. So I can take something from 252, from NFPA 1, from 101, from 80. I can have all the information relative to fire doors in one section and under one collection. This is really great, especially if you've got people who are like the resident expert at a certain subject, and you really want them to be able to kind of share their knowledge and their wealth of information with everybody. That's going to be great. What we're trying to do is put the power of information in your hands and give you the ability to curate it for your teams. So, if you've got a guy on the job site and instead of him having to go find his code book and look something up, You can say, hey, I shared a team collection with you. Go check out residential services. There's all the information you need to know in there. And that's how you can quickly access it, pull it up on your phone. You've got the answer right then and there. To create a new collection, there's this plus new collection over here. You can come in here, name it. And then what you would do is click team collection if it's something you wanted to share with your team, save it, and now you've got that collection made. My suggestion, my tip here is that you actually, when you're using LiNK, start with your collections first if you know what kind of subjects you really want to organize your thoughts into. Because so what you can see is I made this collection, but it has no bookmarks in it now. So either now I go create a bunch of bookmarks and add it to the collection, or I go back over to my bookmarks and add them that way. We are exploring creating a collection directly from creating a bookmark, which would be a feature upgrade for us. But right now, my best advice for you is to actually go in and create those collections first, and then organize your thoughts and your information into those collections as you're creating those bookmarks. All right, so now I'm going to jump over to NFPA Direct. So this is really our newest way of sharing information and putting together information based on what our experts can put together for you. I would say this is very much for those that maybe are not familiar with the code and how to navigate the code book. Maybe they're in a new space and just don't know what to look for. Maybe they don't even know what kind of question to ask, but they at least know, where they're working, what they're working on, what equipment they're working on. Any of that would be here within Direct. And what it is a series of filters to get to certain information. So I can come in here and I can click occupancy. And let's say I'm working on a healthcare facility. I can click healthcare. And what it's going to do is start to get all the information that NFPA has put together relative to that specific occupancy. Right now, this is a lot of information. I probably want to filter that down even further. So I'm going to go ahead and pick one of the other filters to further find what I'm looking for. So for this example, I'm going to do medical gas vacuum and let that pull up. The one thing I will say about NFPA Direct is this is something we are continuing to build out over time. So what you're going to see is we're constantly adding and improving what's in NFPA Direct. And we certainly would love to get your guys' feedback on what else you would like to see in here, what's going to help you understand. Essentially, we have to kind of build out the world here. So it does take some time for us to put everything in there. What we're trying to conquer right now is really kind of what do we think is the most important information for you to know about varying subjects. So I did the medical gas vacuum. You can see now I've got 4 situations related to this and a number of solutions that tie to these specific situations. So let's say I wanted to go into the central supply location, the manifold room. Now I can click that situation, and what you see is a really nice visual image of, an example of a central supply location. I have got these hotspots on here, and those are related to varying solution pages that tie to this situation. So let's say I specifically wanted to know about ventilation requirements. I can see that vent up here in the top right. The number 8's next to that. I'm going to scroll down to number 8, ventilation, see central supply location, and click that. So now I'm brought to what's called a solution page. And this is going to give you content, again, very similar to that handbook style of content, but just presented in a different way. So this is going to give you some general information about what our NFPA experts have to say about ventilation when it comes to the medical supply and essential supply location, or the medical gas and essential supply location. I've also got code requirements down here now. So you can see I've got NFPA 99 requirements that apply to this specific solution I'm viewing. So I could click this and quickly read that requirement and say, okay, yeah, that applies to this. I could also open in book view and start to navigate, add bookmarks, do whatever I want there. Or, I can back out and just go back to the next code section that's referenced. I'm going to show you a few other examples of what this looks like, just so you can get a feel for how NFPA Direct works. But I would definitely encourage you to play around with it, see what's all in there. Like I said, we're always adding to this. So every week we're adding new stuff to this, to NFPA Direct. This time I'm going to pick energy storage systems. Now I'm working on that for a healthcare facility and seeing what NFPA has to say about that. Let this get pulled up here. So it's only one situation we have so far with 10 solutions. I can click this. Again, a nice visual image giving me some information. But let's say I just wanted to know, hey, general requirements when it comes to energy storage. I can click that. Again, I've got some basic information for me to understand, and then I've got code information. And this is a good example of where we can really start to do multiple codes across the topic. So now I've got NFPA 855 requirements as well as the NFPA 70 requirements, the general requirements when it comes to ESS. This is ultimately what we're striving to get to when it comes to NFPA Direct, is being able to aggregate information across all of our codes and standards so that we can present to you all what's relevant to the given topic that you're researching. I'll do just one more to showcase it. And this time I'll go into space. And let's say we're doing the fire pump room. So again, it's filtering all the content based on my selections and providing me the results based on what I selected. And it will present me with a few different options for fire pumps. We've got the electrical requirements, and then we've got the inspection and testing requirements. I'm going to jump into inspection and testing. And again, you've got a very nice image with hotspots related to it, so I can see this fire pump room and get a really general understanding of what I'm looking at. Maybe I'm in this space on site and I'm just looking at it in general. But I can come here and say, okay, I'm actually doing maintenance. I need to understand what I got to do for the gauges. That's related to number 2. I'm going to click that. Here's some additional information for me to read regarding gauges and the requirements when it comes to inspection and testing, as well as NFPA 25 code requirement that I can quickly jump into and read and open in book view if necessary. So that is how NFPA Direct works. To me, it's one of the most exciting parts of NFPA LiNK is our kind of ability to showcase visually how codes and standards get applied to the real world. So really looking forward to us continuing to build this out, and would love to get some additional feedback from you all on what else you would like to see into this section of the code. All right. So from there, I'm going to bounce back over to my home screen and showcase a few other things. The one thing that I get asked about a lot is offline access. So I'm out in the field, I'm on an airplane, I have no internet connectivity. You made this thing available on a web browser. How do I access the stuff offline? Essentially, because we use a progressive web application, we have the ability to store information behind the scenes in the browser so that you're able to access it when you're offline. So what you see on my dashboard here is some of these items have green check marks, and that's telling you it's downloaded to my device. So that's indicating I've already taken the action and stored it to my device to access when I'm offline. What you can do if you don't have anything downloaded yet is click this vertical menu, this kebab right here, and you can say offline settings. Now, when I click the offline settings, I've got a few different options. One, you want to toggle on to store it for offline use. And then you've got the option to include your bookmarks and notes and to include that in inline enhanced content. So that's going to give you the ability to also view your notes offline and view that content. The reason we give you the ability to select it or not select it is really all of this is taking up space on your device. So the more you include and download, the more space you're going to take up. It's not a ton of space, but we want to give you that flexibility. If I hit save, it's going to start downloading that piece of content. The big key thing is you don't want to close your browser while you're downloading a piece of content. Otherwise, it will stop the download. You won't have it available. You can see it's currently downloading. It's giving me an indication that it is in progress. And then once it's downloaded, I'll have the ability to access it when I'm offline. A couple key things to note about offline access is it is relative to not only the browser, but also the device you're using. So I'm on my laptop right now. I'm downloading it in my app, which is via Chrome. I need to access this all via Chrome. I can't go over to Edge and expect it to be in the Edge portion of my app. So I would suggest kind of keeping with the same browser as you're using NFPA LiNK. Also from a device standpoint, if I'm on my laptop downloading this, and then I'm out in the field on my phone, I also need to download it from my phone on the browser I'm using there. So just something important to note as you're going out in the field, just really prepare for your day. Make sure that you've got the content you need stored for offline access, and you'll be able to access it. The other key thing is to make sure you don't actively sign out of NFPA Link when you're wanting to use offline access. So I'm currently signed in. If I clicked this sign out button and then I was to experience an offline experience, I wouldn't be signed in, I wouldn't be authenticated. NFPA Link wouldn't know that I have a subscription, so I wouldn't be able to access my offline content. You want to make sure you're signed in. We don't actively sign you out for at least like 21 days. So that should give you plenty of time to still have access when you experience an offline state. And I know it may seem weird, but in an offline state, you can navigate directly to link.nfpa.org in your browser, and you will be able to access the content. I'm going to attempt to show you what this looks like. Sometimes this acts a little funky when I'm trying to demonstrate being offline, but not being offline. So let's just see how this goes here. All right. So it should be switching me over to offline mode now, and I should be able to see just the things that I've downloaded. I'll give this a second just because I'm faking being offline, so sometimes this takes a little bit longer. But a few things to note about offline access while this is pulling up is right now what you have the ability to view is your publication, the notes that you downloaded, and the enhanced content that you downloaded. You'll also be able to search that publication and any of the publications that you did download. But what you will not be able to do is access NFPA Direct or MyLink currently. So what we did is we really did kind of a V1 of our offline solution. So right now what we're trying to give you is, hey, you need to view the code, you need to view your notes. We're going to give you that ability. You need to search. We're going to give you that ability. If we get a bunch of feedback that Direct would be great in an offline experience, MyLink would be great, then we would consider updating and improving our offline experience. But this certainly gets you 90% of what you need. So now you can see I've only got my offline publications available. I can jump straight into one of these. I can view it. And it's all exactly the same as the online experience. So you're going to see the same format, the same view of specifically what you're looking at. If I had any notes here, you'd be able to see those as well. I can also search across this, and you'll see that it's only going to be for the documents that I have already downloaded for access. Let me go ahead and close out of offline mode. Jump back over here. All right, so the next thing I want to show you is kind of where you manage offline. So down here where my initials are, there's this account settings piece. I can jump right into here, and the fourth tab over is offline. So right here is where you're going to see how much space I've taken up with the documents that I've downloaded. You're also going to see all the documents that I have available. This will give you the ability to remove it from offline access. So say I no longer want NFPA 20, I can click delete, free up a little space. This will also trigger you to re-download a document. So a few instances of where that happens is, for example, if we issue a TIA in NFPA Link, we automatically update the document for you. So you're always going to have the latest and greatest version of the code and standard that you're viewing. But if you stored it for offline access prior to us updating that, we would indicate to you that there was an update available, and you would come to this tab, click download, and then you would have access. Then you could re-download that document so that you have access to it. Similarly, for notes and bookmarks, you would do the same. So that's how you kind of deal with offline access. I'm sure there's a lot of questions, and if it warrants it, I might spend a webinar just talking about offline and going through more details for you all. But that high level is how offline access works. Since I'm in this account settings tab, I'm also going to showcase the team management portion. So the way team management works is it all depends on how many licenses, how many users you purchased for your team. The purchaser becomes the admin, but you can assign other people as admin, and I'll show you that in a second. But essentially, in the team management tab, I've got a few things I can do. I can change my team name directly from here, or I can start to invite people to my team. So I'm going to go ahead and invite Angela to my team. And I just click invite. Now you can see that that invitation has been sent. It's going to Angela's email. I can see it's still pending, so I can see that she hasn't accepted it yet. If I wanted to resend it, I could do that. If I wanted to cancel it altogether, I could do that as well. What Angela needs to do in order to access NFPA Link is utilize the email that comes to her. So if you tell somebody that they're invited onto your team and then they just go straight to link.nfpa.org, but don't interact with the email invitation, it's just going to prompt them to purchase. So they need to click the links within the email to get actually brought into the team they're getting invited to. What else you can see is now I've only got 7 invites remaining when I had a team of 10 since I just invited Angela. I've also got down here who's already currently on my team. So I've got Eric on my team, one of my coworkers. I can also do a few things straight from here. I can set him as the admin. So if I had a pretty big team and I wanted multiple admins, or I no longer wanted to be the admin, I can go ahead and set him as the admin, or set multiple admins. I can also remove him from my team. So say you had turnover or somebody moved to a different department or whatever it may be, but they're no longer part of your team subscription to NFPA Link, you can go ahead and remove them. And that will free up a license space for you, so you can go ahead and re-invite somebody else to the team. You can do this all without having to call us. That's why we built this team management tab, so that you have the flexibility to manage your own teams without having to pick up the phone or get online on nfpa.org and get it sorted out for how to get somebody off your team and somebody new on your team. So that's all done through this team management tab. There's a few other tabs here: subscription details and your information. If you need to like change your password or manage your profile or anything, you can do that via here. Also down in this account settings is the support feature. And support is where we have all of our FAQs. It's also how you can contact support if you do have any issues, or just want to give general feedback. So you can see all of our FAQs are right here. You can also click this contact support button. That's going to generate with your information, and then it's going to give you the ability to pick a reason why you're reaching out. So say you just wanted to give us some feedback and you wanted to say, hey, it'd be great if you built a scenario on X. You could throw that in here, hit submit. That would go to our team, and we'd take that feedback in. If you had some sort of technical issue or issue logging in, you could also submit it directly from here. This is a public page, so you don't need to be signed in to access this page. You can always contact support directly. So high level, that is what we have with NFPA Link today. What's really exciting about Link is we're learning from you all as the users on what improvements we need, what else we need to focus on. This is really a growing product for us. So you're going to continue to see new content. You're going to continue to see improvements to features. One of the improvements that I wish was out already, we actually just demonstrated it on our staging site, but that is via our search. We're actually adding the ability to search for a title right here. We've noticed that a lot of people have submitted feedback that, hey, I searched NFPA 70 here and I don't find anything. Well, that's technically just searching within our codes and standards. What we're adding here soon is the ability to actually find that publication, favorite it, do all the things you need to do with it, just like viewing that view all publications modal. So a lot of things are coming our way. Like I said, I'm going to do multiple webinars, so definitely diving into other features as we release them. Be on the lookout for tons of new content, tons of new features this year. Like I said, it'll all be in this announcement section, and we'll do our best to give you as much training on it as we can. I'm going to go ahead and open it up and see if we've got any questions still pending. Angela, I don't know if there's ones you want me to go ahead and dive into, or how you want to handle that.
Yes, Kyle. So in the Q&A, there are some questions here that I have marked to answer live. So if you want to, I've marked those in the Q&A section. If you want to pull those up and kind of go through.
Yep, I've got them here. So we'll just go ahead and start with the first one. So I've noticed that enhanced content on Link is not as detailed as what is found in the handbook. Will this be improved or changed to more closely match the handbook content? So great question. That is correct. So not every single thing that is in the handbook is an NFPA link. And over time, what's in an NFPA link might not be what's in the handbook. We are still working through loading as much content as we can. It just takes a while. And some of these features that are in the handbook, we've deemed to be more important as maybe a non-static feature. What I mean by that is we have the ability to load videos into NFPA link as well. So we might have deemed that important to make a video. Or if it's some sort of checklist, that might be an interactive feature that we actually want to put into NFPA link. So there's things that have been left out, but it doesn't mean they'd be left out for forever. It might just be a different way we put them into NFPA link to make them more interactive. Does the app allow to make a quick search by words to the entire book? I believe I demonstrated that already. Like I mentioned, if you're in the book itself and you click search, what you will see is the ability to search the entire publication, all of NFPA 13, but you can narrow that down to a specific chapter if you're viewing a chapter, or you can search multiple publications. If you edited or deleted a bookmark in a future edition, would it then delete it from the original edition you made it on? This can be problematic if something drastic changed the code and you worked in an area that multiple jurisdictions on different editions of the same standard, so you wanted to keep all your quick references. So my suggestion here is, yes, if you delete a bookmark, you're deleting it out. The bookmark stays the same across all your editions. My suggestion is in the bookmark itself, when you're editing it, you could put 2020 and then list all your notes below that. You could put 2023 and then list all your notes below that. We are looking at the concept of doing multiple bookmarks on sections, which would allow you to say, hey, this one I just want for 2020 and this one I just want for 2023. We don't have that functionality yet, but my suggestion would be that however you format and customize that, you actually list those out in the notes and don't delete what you have in the past. Does Link take the place of NFCSS membership, or is it an add-on? Good question. So they are entirely separate products. So NFCSS is our legacy subscription product. It certainly has a lot of the documents that we don't have in NFPA Link just yet. It is a different product altogether. So I would consider Link more of an add-on and eventually a replacement to our NFCSS product. We don't have any plans to phase that out just yet. And you would certainly be informed if we did make that decision. We know some people like how NFCSS works and are happy with that subscription. And we're not planning on changing that on you anytime soon. Anything else that I need to answer? Did I miss anything, Angela?
That's all we have left in the queue. Does anyone else have any questions?
I'll give it a minute while you guys are thinking if you do have anything else. What I would say is, again, thank you all for joining. I know we have a few wrap-up comments from Renee, but I would just like to thank you guys. If you are an active subscriber and you're always in here every day, I do look forward to learning from you and seeing what feedback you have for me on what we can improve. Please submit that via that contact support general feedback. We'd love to get your feedback on anything that we can improve. If you haven't subscribed or you don't use it that much, certainly encourage you to check it out. On our sign up page, we do have the option for a free trial. That is a 2-week free trial. It doesn't require a credit card or anything to log in. So you can check it out, check out all the features. I do think you're going to be really happy with the product. And, again, look forward to any feedback that you guys might have. Anything else come in?
Yes, Kyle, actually, I was just typing a response, but someone is asking regarding an exclamation point on one of their stored standards. So can you just explain to them how they would go to their account settings offline tab to update that document?
Yep, no problem. So what you mean is like this right here would have an exclamation point letting you know there's an update. So what you would do is you actually don't re-download it from this section. You're going to go back over to your account settings. You're going to go to this offline tab, and then you're going to click this download button. And that will re-download the latest version so that you no longer have that indication that an update is needed. You've now downloaded the latest update. All right.
Okay, this is Renee. I'm back again. So if nobody has any other further questions, I just want to thank you for a wonderful presentation. For any further questions or comments, please send to custserve@nfpa.org. That's CUSTSERV@nfpa.org, and we'll be sure to follow up with you. And please note that a recording of today's webinar will be made available. You will receive an email notification when it has been posted. And on behalf of NFPA, Kyle Spencer, and myself and the team, thank you for joining us today.